What's going on, guys? Welcome back. And today I'm going to be talking about Toy Story. Now, Toy Story 4 is coming out this Friday, and I thought, why not to celebrate it? Why don't I talk about the past Toy Story films? Now, I want to talk about this film, Toy Story 1, and probably Toy Story 2 and 3. These are going to be more quick reviews because a lot of people have already put out their thoughts on the internet, and basically the entire world already has their own thoughts on these films that I pretty much entirely agree with. Um, but I'm just gonna give my quick thoughts. I guess this will be like a quick re-review because this isn't like a full-on series where every week I do a new review, like building up to Far From Home. I just wanted to, put out some different content other than Marvel, which I've been doing for a while. It's because Endgame came out, all this stuff, and Marvel has just kind of taken over the entire world recently. But I wanted to talk about something different, and I haven't done a lot of Pixar videos. So, Toy Story, it's obviously a classic. There's so many lines in this movie that I love. It's a really funny movie. But I think that it's actually my least favorite of the movies now, the trilogy, but it's not a trilogy now because there's four. Um, it's just I don't know if it suffers from like aging poorly because it doesn't. Like the animation, like looking back on it, it isn't even bad because it's not like Spider-Man where I'm like, wow, that looks bad compared to today. Because animation, even if it's CG animation, isn't like CGI in movies where it can become dated. It doesn't really it can't animation can't really become dated if you know what I mean. Uh, so in this film, it just kind of makes me nostalgic to think, look at how far we've come. This is the first Pixar film, and it's a classic. And it's a very clever movie. It's very funny. But I find that Woody can be pretty insufferable. But it has a really good message underneath all of it, which is Woody. He's like this person who just kind of gets so self-obsessed that he kind of lets his ego take over, and then kind of starts to see everyone kind of fade away, and then perceives the cannibal toys as being like evil when they're actually just kind of the kindest people around, and they actually understand him, but they just kind of look like cannibals, but they're really shy. And then Buzz realizes that he's a real toy, and then kind of becomes Woody if you actually think about it. And then Woody has to realize, he has to realize that he has to do better because he's pushed everyone away by his own ego, and he has to do something about it. And Buzz, has to realize, he's basically just a clone, and then he has to realize what makes him him, and not just one of a million thousand Buzz Lightyear toys. And I think that's a pretty important message to push, and I think it's a pretty relevant message back in the day, and I still think it pretty much is. So messaging, all that is pretty good. It's not quite as deep as I think the other ones in terms of its messaging. It's mainly bent on entertaining you, but yeah, I can't really say it's aged poorly. It's just I think the other ones are paced better. I get more enjoyment out of the other ones. Like while I watch Toy Story 3 is my favorite out of all of them, and I think that's just because it's fast moving. With this movie, it's not really boring so much as I just felt kind of not bored, but just kind of like it's a slower movie and it takes a while, and I don't enjoy the characters as much. And I understand that that's part of the journey, so that doesn't. It's not the fact that Woody's kind of insufferable. I don't know. It's just like I think it's a movie that once you've seen it a few times, the other ones like if I want to watch one just to have a good time, I'd rather watch Toy Story 2 or Toy Story 3 rather than this film because I don't know. It hasn't aged poorly at all, but I just don't have as much fun with it, and I don't enjoy putting it on as much. Like, I I don't know if I was bored while watching it this time or not, but like I just kind of it just I guess kind of I guess it's one of those movies where when you watch it many times, it becomes kind of predictable, um, and it just doesn't really work on multiple viewings, which is fine because not all movies that are great have to hold up on multiple viewings. Um, so I think it's one of those movies for me, maybe not for everyone, but for me at least. I would rather put on the other two if I want to just have a good time. But it's very important to complete the trilogy, and this is a very important piece in the series, or not the trilogy anymore, but in the Toy Story series. The music by Randy Newman is great. It won like the song of the year, I believe, for by a friend and me. Um, and I believe it's 25 years old this year. Toy Story 3 is almost 10 years old. Next year it'll be 10 years old. Um, and this movie is, I think, 25 or maybe even 26 years old this year. So that's crazy to think about. But yeah, the music is fantastic. Obviously, even just the music, it is like a very commonly used music, but it fits in every scene, and it fits perfectly in every scene that it's placed in. So I think that's pretty much it on this review. I know that it's only 5 minutes, but with these videos, like everyone already knows that everyone on the planet loves the Toy Story films. So I don't really need to talk and drone on about it. But the animation being a little bit dated, I guess, which doesn't really feel dated to me, doesn't bother me because it makes it feel classic and kind of like a gem, and it keeps that classic feel. And it's just an ingenious idea. There's so much attention to detail with all the board games. Like at the end with Bo Peep, it's like there's all the board games like Candyland behind them, and the way that they really lean into the comedy. Like at the end when he's like, "Oh, Buzz, what could possibly be worse than you?" And then it just kind of slowly pans out the window. Yay, it's a puppy! And then it immediately zooms really quickly back into them, and it really leans into it because it's like, okay, we have this really long like, pan away, and then it just zooms right back in. Like I really like that. Um, he really leans into that. And then the same scene, it's like most movies wouldn't pay attention to this, but like when Bo Peep is like flirting with Woody, and then she kisses him, and then they just kind of go off camera, and then in the next scene, Woody walks back in, and he has all the lipstick all over his face. Like most movies don't do that, but I'm glad that they actually paid attention. And that's the thing with this movie: the people who made it really cared. Like I love when Buzz comes into the car, and then Woody picks like the dead bug off his helmet or whatever. Like just those little things I just love about these films and about this film especially. But I think maybe it leans into a little bit too much of reusing gags. Like there's this running gag for the entire film where Woody keeps getting crushed by things. He's like, "I'm cool." Like it happens many times, and it just makes Woody seem kind of goofy. That's like a nitpick, but rewatching it, it really stood out to me how many times they use that gag. And this isn't really a problem with the animation as well. It's a small critique I have, which is like they have this eye blinking effect, and I think they like using it. But sometimes where they use this eye blinking effect, it kind of like takes me out of it a little bit because like they really use it in odd places. But then if you actually look at it in some shots where there's a lot of toys, the animation can look kind of old. And I was watching it on a VHS and not a DVD. I really want to get a DVD version, but on the VHS, there's a little bit of grain, so that kind of might have affected my viewing experience of it. Um, but it's like um, when it's just people, like one toy, like there's this one shot of Woody in the van, and he just looks like today's animation standards. Like it just looks fantastic. And then there was one part that I thought was kind of weird rewatching it, which is where Woody lights the rocket, and then they go flying towards the van, and then they go flying in the air, and it's like if they waited a few more seconds, but Woody lets go of RC, and it's like it feels like a natural pace that they're flying at, but then he lets go of RC, and it feels like RC just flies for a few inches, and he would have dropped at a very high velocity and wouldn't have just flown forwards. If they'd kept Woody holding onto him for a few more seconds, then I think it would have been realistic enough that he would have landed in the truck. But the way that it's like, it looks really good, and it pans up, and then suddenly he just basically flies forward, and it just doesn't really work for me rewatching it. It stood out like a sore thumb to me. But overall, it's a great movie. All the things that I'm pointing out are nitpicks, but and they aren't even really facts that make the movie dated, because I don't think the movie is dated at all. I just don't find it as exciting or as fun as the other two films. I'd rather put those on if I just want to have a good time and just have an emotional experience. But it's very important in the series, so I'm gonna give it an A. If I was giving it like a rating, I give it like a 9.5 out of 10, like a number scale rating. There are a few things that I don't love about it, but all the other ones I think are A plus material when I rewatch them. But yeah, this movie is fantastic. Toy Story. Let me know your thoughts on. Are you excited for Toy Story 4? Do you want to see a review of Toy Story 2 and 3 in just this quick style, where it's only like 10 minutes or 5 minutes? It's almost 10 minutes. So I meant to just make it like 5 minutes or so. But yeah, let me know. What are your thoughts on Toy Story? Do you love it? I know that I do. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on this review in the comments, and what you think of Toy Story as well. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. and I hope you guys have a great day. Take care.